In the world of professional wrestling, where every punch is timed, every slam choreographed to tell a compelling story, there have always been names that sent chills down the spine. Not because they were the best, but because they were the most dangerous. Some hit too hard. Others fought like they were trying to end careers, not just win matches. And a few legends, whether by accident or by intent, left a trail of blood, tears, and broken dreams in their wake. Today, Wrestling Sphere takes you inside the ring for a look at the most dangerous wrestlers to ever lace up a pair of boots. Not because of technical mastery, but because they were reckless, brutal, or simply too unhinged to be called professional. From out-of-control suplexes to real-life revenge beatdowns, these are the blood-soaked stories from a world where every blow was supposed to be just for show. Number 10, Rob Van Dam. Mention the name Rob Van Dam, and what usually comes to mind is his laid-back attitude, free-spirited lifestyle, and the iconic haze that often follows him. But don't be fooled by the chill exterior. Behind that relaxed image is a fighter with the precision to land 3 knockout kicks before you even realize what hit you. Trained by the legendary Original Sheik, RVD fully embraced the old-school kayfabe mentality, treating every match like a real fight. With a background in kickboxing and a wide arsenal from various martial arts, Van Dam blended grace with danger in a way few could match. He thrived in ECW and All Japan Pro Wrestling, where his fearless, unconventional style was celebrated. However, when he stepped into the WWE spotlight, not everyone was ready for his brand of art. Big names like Chris Jericho, Booker T, Kurt Angle, and Test all felt the sting of his inventive and painful offense. Whether it was a flying kick, a steel chair assault, or his thunderous frog splash, RVD always left a mark. He's not known for protecting opponents from hard hits either. He once left Triple H gasping for air after a mistimed landing and shattered Abyss's teeth during a stint in TNA. While he's not a reckless brawler, there's an untamed energy about Van Dam that keeps opponents on edge. With RVD, you either leave the ring with respect or a trip to the medic. Number 9, Goldberg. With a physique like sculpted steel and explosive power, Goldberg stormed into pro wrestling like a wrecking ball. The catch? He rose to fame faster than his skills could keep up, raw, unpredictable, and sometimes downright dangerous. A product of the WCW power plant, Goldberg brought an NFL player's aggression but lacked the polish and control to ensure his opponent's safety. In 1998, during a match on WCW Saturday Night, he dropped the notoriously tough Meng headfirst onto the mat. Not long after, he tossed manager Jimmy Hart like a rag doll, slamming his head hard against the floor. Still, nothing compares to the moment that ended Bret Hart's career. The infamous kick has been burned into wrestling history and into Hart's memory as a devastating, career-altering mistake. Unfortunately, that wasn't the end of Goldberg's mishaps. A year later, he fractured Scott Steiner's orbital bone with a misdirected punch. His move to WWE didn't change much. He dislocated Rene Dupree's shoulder just by swinging a flag and nearly dropped Undertaker on his head during a botched jackhammer, a finishing move that almost became a career-ender for the deadman himself. Goldberg embodies unrestrained strength, raw, ferocious, and packed with risk. Share the ring with him, and you might look like a legend or find yourself recovering in a hospital bed the same night. Number 8, Akmed Johnson. At one point, Akmed Johnson looked poised to crash into WWE like a tidal wave. With a chiseled physique, intense glare, and ferocious energy, the Pearl River powerhouse quickly won over fans. His signature move, the Pearl River Plunge, looked capable of snapping any opponent's spine in half. But behind that electrifying presence was a serious danger to anyone who stepped into the ring with him. Akmed wasn't just powerful, he was wildly unrefined. Known for his reckless in-ring style and limited technical skills, he developed a reputation as one of the most accident-prone wrestlers for his colleagues. Jake the Snake Roberts openly admitted dreading matches with him, while Bruce Pritchard conceded that Akmed was pushed too soon before he was truly ready. Perhaps the most infamous incident came when he kicked Ron Simmons so hard that it caused severe liver damage, sending the legend to the hospital. Simmons later returned the favor in brutal fashion, reportedly hitting Akmed so hard in a rematch that he nearly blacked out. Ironically, Akmed became a victim of his own intensity. His WWE career quickly unraveled due to a string of injuries, many of which he unintentionally caused himself. Akmed Johnson is a textbook example of how raw strength without control can backfire. Once seen as a potential megastar, he's now remembered more for being a serious liability inside the ring. Number 7, Vader. Few men could silence an arena the way Big Van Vader did. Weighing over 400 pounds and moving with the fury of a storm, Vader was destruction personified. After dominating Japan's brutal strong style scene, he brought that same relentless aggression to every match, no matter who stood across from him. Facing Vader was never just another night at the office, it was a gamble. Ric Flair once described, with no hint of exaggeration, the sheer force of Vader's blows during their match at Starrcade 1993. Sting, one of his most iconic rivals, suffered broken ribs and a ruptured spleen after taking a botched Vader bomb. The consequences only got worse. Joe Thurman suffered a broken back and temporary paralysis following a poorly executed powerbomb. A mistimed strike at Halloween Havoc left Nikita Koloff with a neck injury that ended his career for good. Vader's attacks often blurred the line between scripted violence and real-life harm. Though inducted into the Hall of Fame and respected for his contributions to the business, Vader was never the kind of opponent wrestlers were eager to face. His career serves as a reminder, being too real in the ring can make for unforgettable moments or irreversible damage. Number 6, Nia Jax. When Nia Jax enters the arena, it's impossible not to notice her tall, commanding, and radiating confidence. But behind that imposing presence lies a career filled with controversy. Backstage whispers in WWE often sounded something like, "If I'm working with Nia today, better have a doctor on standby." Her strength was undeniable, but her tendency to misjudge impact, especially against smaller female wrestlers, led to a long list of injuries. Bayley, Charlotte Flair, Ember Moon, Kairi Sane, Mandy Rose, and Zelina Vega all found themselves hurt after matches involving her, whether from rough landings, mistimed throws, or stiff collisions. The most infamous moment came in 2018, when she broke Becky Lynch's nose with a punch during a chaotic brawl before Survivor Series. The image of Becky bleeding profusely became iconic, but the incident itself left a sour taste for many fans and insiders alike. Though she later stepped away from WWE and returned with a seemingly softer style, Nia has struggled to shake off the label of being a dangerous performer. Ironically, some now criticize her for going too far in the opposite direction, calling her moves overly staged and unconvincing. Nia Jax stands as a cautionary tale in the wrestling world. Brute strength alone isn't enough. Without precision and control, even the most promising talent can quickly become a walking risk. Number 5, the Steiner Brothers. When it comes to the most intimidating tag teams in wrestling history, the Steiner Brothers are always in the conversation. Rick and Scott weren't just skilled, they were terrifying. Both had impressive amateur wrestling backgrounds, but what set them apart was the cold-blooded brutality they brought to every match. Rick, known as the dog-faced gremlin, wrestled with wild eyes and an unforgiving edge. Scott, who later became infamous as Big Papa Pump, combined absurd muscularity with spine-snapping suplexes that looked like they belonged in a demolition derby rather than a wrestling ring. With the Steiners, there was little distinction between showmanship and genuine aggression. If it looked like they were trying to destroy someone, it's probably because they were. Even more unsettling, they had no problem going off script mid-match if they felt their opponent was slacking or disrespecting the business. Inexperienced enhancement talent often found themselves treated like ragdolls. Toward the end of WCW, Rick drew criticism for manhandling wrestlers like Van Hammer, Big Vito, Lash LaRue, and Konnan live on television, abusing his backstage clout with no fear of consequences. The Steiner brothers weren't just performers, they were warriors. And anyone who stepped into the ring with them knew one thing: stay alert or get crushed. Number 4, the Road Warriors. The Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal, were the physical embodiment of destruction in professional wrestling. Looking like they'd walked out of a post-apocalyptic nightmare, this duo terrorized opponents from NWA to WWE. They weren't about fancy techniques or flashy moves, they were about raw, unapologetic violence. From the very beginning, they were pushed to the spotlight despite being green in the ring. But their monstrous physiques and ferocious presence made them instant fan favorites. Unfortunately, their early opponents, often lower-tier jobbers, took the brunt of their stiff, punishing offense. Rumor has it, some wrestlers would legit try to avoid bookings against them out of fear for their safety. Their finishing move, the Doomsday Device, remains one of the most dangerous tag maneuvers ever used. With Animal hoisting the opponent on his shoulders and Hawk launching off the ropes for a flying clothesline, more than one wrestler landed dangerously on their neck. In 1997, Henry Godwinn suffered a broken neck from the move, proof that some finishers are just too risky, no matter how iconic. Hawk and Animal were never about putting on a performance. For them, the ring was a battleground, and they lived and wrestled like true warriors of chaos. Number 3, the Beverly Brothers. At first glance, the Beverly Brothers look more like theater performers than dangerous wrestlers decked out in shiny purple gear, perfectly coiffed hair, and accompanied by the genius Lanny Poffo. But appearances can be deceiving. Blake and Bo delivered one of the most vicious tag finishers in wrestling history. Their move, the Shaker Heights Spike, seemed like a spinal experiment gone wrong. One brother would hoist the opponent into the air like a flapjack, while the other would jump and drive their head straight down into the mat. It was a twisted take on the Spike piledriver, only far riskier. The maneuver sparked outrage among wrestling veterans, as it often caused opponents to land in positions that risked serious spinal injuries, broken necks, or even permanent nerve damage. Most of the time, the ones taking the hit were enhancement talent wrestlers booked specifically to lose and make their opponents look good. Even their own manager, Lanny Poffo, publicly criticized the move, calling it reckless and unnecessary. Others, like Stevie Richards, flat out condemned it, saying it never should have existed in the first place. The Beverly Brothers may not have earned legendary status, but for those unfortunate enough to take the Shaker Heights Spike, their matches left a mark, literally and figuratively. Number 2, Mabel. When WWE decided to elevate Nelson Frazier Jr., better known as Mabel, to the top of the card in 1995, both fans and insiders were stunned. Known for his fun-loving, crowd-friendly persona as part of the tag team Men on a Mission, Mabel hardly fit the mold of a menacing heel, figuratively or literally. But WWE had other plans. After winning that year's King of the Ring, Mabel was positioned as the top threat to then-champion Diesel. That's when things started to unravel. Mabel was simply too large, too clumsy, and nowhere near ready for a main event spotlight. During their SummerSlam 1995 match, he dropped his full body weight on Diesel's lower back in a botched spot that nearly caused a serious injury. Cameras even caught Kevin Nash muttering an expletive in pain, live on air. Reportedly, Vince McMahon was so furious he nearly fired Mabel on the spot. But he got one last shot, this time against The Undertaker. And fate wasn't any kinder. A reckless leg drop led to Undertaker suffering a broken orbital bone, sidelining him for weeks. That effectively ended Mabel's run as a top-tier star. From then on, he was relegated to supporting roles, never regaining that spotlight. Mabel's trajectory became a textbook case of pushing a performer too far, too fast, and the heavy cost of putting in experience before readiness. Number 1, Nia Jax. Nia Jax wasn't just controversial, he was danger personified. Unlike most wrestlers who work stiff for realism, Nia Jax often stepped into the ring with one intention: to hurt, for real, and sometimes, to leave permanent damage. A product of the blood-soaked ECW era, Jax didn't just ignore traditional wrestling rules, he disregarded the unspoken code of protecting your fellow performers. One of the most infamous incidents involved 17-year-old Eric Koulis, who lied about being trained. In a tag match, Nia Jax bladed Koulis so deep that blood gushed uncontrollably, nearly costing the teenager his life in front of a live crowd. Then came the revenge match with Vic Grimes. During a scaffold bout, Nia Jax used a stun gun to incapacitate Grimes before throwing him off a nearly 40-foot platform. Grimes survived, but barely. It was a moment that sent chills down even the most desensitized viewers. His match with 69-year-old Gypsy Joe was no less disturbing. Offended by Joe's refusal to sell his offense, Jax responded with a brutal real-life assault that stunned even the hardcore audience. And in a Florida indie show, he infamously pulled a knife mid-match and actually stabbed his opponent multiple times. Nia Jax wasn't just a wrestler, he was a live wire, an unpredictable force who blurred the line between performance and raw violence. His legacy is a cautionary tale, unforgettable, deeply unsettling, and impossible to ignore. In a world where every move is choreographed for safety, names like Mabel, Nia Jax, or Vader stand out as terrifying exceptions. One miscalculation, a moment of rage, or simply a lack of ring awareness, any of it could turn a glorious night into a complete disaster. And while some of these names are still celebrated as legends, the darker chapters of their careers continue to send chills down the spines of those who remember. Who do you think was the most dangerous wrestler to ever step foot in a WWE, ECW, or WCW ring? Is there someone you believe deserves a spot on this list? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Wrestling Sphere wants to hear from you. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the untold stories behind the spotlight.